This is the first podcast for solutions. In this podcast, I'm going to cover some basic information that you're going to need to know and reference back to during the entire unit. Specifically, we're going to talk about definitions and units of concentration. So let's talk about some basic definitions, words that I'm going to use over and over again that you just need to know as soon as I say them. First of all, let's talk about what actually makes a solution. A solution, anytime you hear the word solution, referring to a homogeneous mixture of two or more substances. Now, hopefully you remember that the term homogeneous means looks the same throughout. Okay, so we're talking about something where no matter what, no matter where in the solution I'm looking, it's going to have the exact same composition. Inside of that solution, there are two things. You have the solute and the solvent. The solute is the stuff being dissolved. So, for example, let's say I'm going to make a saltwater solution. The salt is being dissolved in the water, so the salt would be considered my solute. My solvent is the stuff doing the dissolving. So it's whatever the solute is being put into. Again, my saltwater solution, I'm talking about water, and that is dissolving the salt, so the water is my solvent. We're going to use water a lot. Water is what is called the universal solvent. So we're going to see water pop up in almost every single example that we do. Okay. Now let's talk about units of concentration. And these are our definitions for concentration too. Because this is how these concentrations are defined. And I'm going to show you some examples on how to calculate involving using some of them. So anytime you hear the word concentrate or concentrated, concentration, etc., we're talking about how much solute is dissolved in a given amount of solvent. So if something is concentrated, that means high amounts of solute in our solvent. So, for example, stuff from your real life, you ever see on the side of your orange juice container, it says not from concentrate. In other words, what they didn't do was they didn't take the stuff that comes in the can and dissolve it in water. So when you go to I don't know if you've ever done this, my parents used to do this all the time, they'd buy the frozen orange juice in the can, and then we'd go home, we'd dump it into a pitcher, and then we'd fill the pitcher up with water, and we mix it all up. That was using concentrated orange juice, and then we made it diluted by adding more water. There are two main units of concentration we're going to use. The first one is molarity. Notice the big M. Molarity is found by taking the moles of my solute and dividing by the liters of the solution. This is the most common one for chemistry because as you've seen so far as we're doing chemical reactions, we often will know how big a bottle is and we'll know how much solution is in that bottle, but we don't necessarily know how much water was put in there in the first place. So knowing the total volume is very important to us.